but you know when a storyline actually evolved over like 3 months instead of 3 days? Do you remember those days? Where you had jobbers like the great Barry Horowitz, who became the not so great Brooklyn Brawler. Which is probably why Vince doesn't listen to the crowd anymore. Does anyone remember Barry Horowitz's signature taunt? Yes, the self pat on the back. Old school. Yeah, my people. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, there's your introduction. What do you need me for? All right, Christchurch, put your hands together for the one, the only, the legend, Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Thank you, brother.
How you doing, sir?
Very good. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. You can sit wherever you like.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming out today.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Actually, this is my second trip to New Zealand. Had a great time. We were able to see a little bit of the country this time and really enjoyed it. Really friendly folks, man.
Oh, sure. Thank you. So, what did you think of Hobbiton?
I enjoyed Hobbiton. I really did. You know, it was a little different than the States because you're walking on this little trail. There's like about a 150-foot fall. No guardrails or nothing. In America, they'd have guardrails, nets, warning signs. Nobody ever falls. And it's refreshing to see that instead of all the safety things.
Well, part of it's because you can't sue anyone either, so.
Right, and of course, then we had the feast at night. That's one of my favorite parts, the feast. If you couldn't tell, huh?
We've got another one tonight. Another one tonight, brother. Right, do you have some questions for Hacksaw Jim?
Let me tell you folks a little bit about wrestling. You know, I know a lot of folks, you know, I joke in America, you know, the NFL, the American Football League, they're like, we're world champions. I said, nothing except probably soccer has the appeal worldwide as professional wrestling. You know, in my almost 40 years of wrestling, I wrestled in every state in the Union, every province in Canada, in 31 different countries. It's amazing the appeal of wrestling around the world. And, you know, and also what a lot of folks don't realize is how competitive professional wrestling is. You know, a lot of think, wrestling's wrestling, I can be a wrestler. Well, I said, you got to keep it in the business mind. You think of it, you probably have in America 1,500 NFL football players. Here in New Zealand, you may have probably 400 or 500 professional rugby players. There's only 100 WWE wrestlers. It's a television show. It's more competitive than sports, but people don't see it that way. And of course, you got guys from all over the world. It's just not kids from North America. You got kids from Japan, Australia, New Zealand, you know, all over the world. They all want to be WWE wrestlers. So it's a very competitive business. And then another big misconception is, well, folks go, well, you wrestlers, you guys are all good friends, aren't you? I said, yeah, we all compete for the same money. We're real good friends. Again, a very competitive business, and you know, and this is the way I feed my family. So I'm trying to hold on to my spot as hard as I can when all these young guys want my job. That's why the 2x4 comes in handy.
Excellent. They couldn't take your job. There can only be one Hacksaw Jim for sure.
Well, actually, when I started wrestling, that's a big part of being a wrestler is having the right character, right gimmick, the right persona. So I knew right off the bat I wasn't going to be handsome Jimmy Duggan, you know. So I knew I had to come up with something. So I first started off as Big Jim Duggan, with short hair and clean shaven, and that didn't work. So I wore a mask for a while, and I wrestled as a convict. And I put little C's on my mask for the convict, and I'd stomp on down to the ring, and the fans were like, why'd you put those ears on your mask? I said, they're not ears, they're C's for the convict. So that didn't work. Then I became Wild Man Duggan. I grew my beard real wild, and I wore fur, and that didn't work. So I evolved into Hacksaw Duggan, and I've been Hacksaw probably out of almost 40 years, probably 36 of them I've been Hacksaw. And one of the big folks ask me about is being a wrestler. You know, you carry a 2x4. And you know, back in the old days when I was just learning the business, it was a much different business than nowadays. It's sports entertainment. Back in the old days, it was pro wrestling. If you want to try one of the wrestlers, you come up in the ring with us. You'd have to fight every local tough guy in the town. So just getting back and forth from the ring was very dangerous. The people, they really hated your guts, you know, and they'd spit on you and kick at you and punch you, you know. So just getting back and forth in the ring was dangerous. So I'm sitting back in the dressing room all covered with loogies and bruises. And my mentor, Bruiser Brody, comes in. He looks at me. He goes, Duggan, he says, if you carry something to the ring, carry something you can use. Forget those feathered boas and sequin robes, you know. And I just happened to look down, like, well, here's a piece of wood. And I got that 2x4. I came out through the dressing room door waving that 2x4, yelling. It was like parting the Red Sea. The people scattered. I got to the ring. I'm like, this is great, you know. And of course, one time I got this big giant splinter in my thumb, you know. And I went, oh! No, it's a wrestling joke. Come on.
Brilliant.
I have a question.
What was it like going up against Andre the Giant? What was going through your mind both before and during the match? And what was it like just to know and lead you just like Andre the Giant?
Well, Andre, you know, Andre was very pivotal in my career because Andre moved me from a mid-card guy to a main event guy. And of course, if there's a giant in professional wrestling, they're like, Duggan, get your 2x4. Come on, I have to wrestle every giant there is. You know, Yokozuna, Big Show, Umaga, Andre, just every giant there is. So we're doing our main TV show, and Andre the Giant standing in the ring. He goes, I challenge anyone. Duggan, get your 2x4. You know. So I run down to the ring. I got my 2x4. I run down. And I got my chin on Andre's belly. I'm looking up at him. I'm like, I'm not afraid of you. And Andre, he went to grab me by the throat, and just that big giant thumb hit me in the lip. It knocked my lip off. My lip falls down. Now blood is cascading down my chest. And Andre's got me by the throat. He's choking me down. He's choking me down. He's choking me down. I feel around. Boom! I get the 2x4. Boom! I hit the big giant between the eyes. He goes down like a huge redwood tree. WWF goes off the air. Me standing over Andre the Giant, covered in blood. Ho, ho! And that moved me from a mid-card guy to a main event guy. And of course, you know, Andre did that. And if he didn't want to do that, he wouldn't do that. So I have a fond memory of Andre the Giant. And one other Andre story. You know, a lot of folks ask, you know, what's the most memorable thing you've done in professional wrestling? And, you know, most folks remember that I won the first ever Royal Rumble. Oh! 30 years ago. But, you know, as a young man, as a young boy, I lived in upstate New York, and my dad would drive me all the way to New York City, me and my sisters, to see the circus at Madison Square Garden. So as an adult, to drive into New York City and pull up in front of Madison Square Garden to see Hacksaw Jim Duggan versus Andre the Giant at Madison Square Garden. That was a thrill of a lifetime, to be main event at the Garden with over 20,000 people. But to be in there with Andre was a double thrill. Good question, young guy. Thank you.
Hi. What's your favorite wrestling match you've been in?
Favorite? Well, you know, I was just with Andre, but the guy I learned the most from wrestling is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, you know. And I always said, Ted DiBiase may be the greatest technical wrestler in the sport, but he can't fight a lick. Oh! And if you're in there with Hacksaw, it's a fight. But Ted DiBiase was like Jake the Snake Roberts, like Kurt Hennig, any of the guys that are second generation wrestlers, you know, their dad was a wrestler. They're just a little more polished than the rest of us. I didn't start wrestling until I was 25, you know, coming out of American football. So it took me a long time to learn. Where guys like Jake and Teddy, they were wrestling when they were 16 years old. So I learned an awful lot from Ted. I owe Ted a whole bunch. And that was great when they put me in the WWE Hall of Fame. It was great to have Ted DiBiase to be the guy to induct me. Good question, buddy. Hey, brother.
Hey, man. What is your thoughts on New Zealand pro wrestling?
Well, you know, pro wrestling is so popular nowadays all over the world. And here you got these young guys out here tonight They're going to be out there doing the best they can to entertain you folks. They're putting their livelihood, their body on the line out there. And the odds of making it, like I said, you probably got a much better chance to make it as a pro rugby player here in New Zealand than you got making it in the WWE. But these are the guys that love the business. They're trying very hard. And I always tell kids, chase your dreams, because who would have ever thought Daniel Bryant would become a star? You know, I saw Daniel when he came in, I'm like, there's no way this kid's going to make it. He's just not going to make it. But there's a guy that had the drive, the desire, the work ethic, the right gimmick, yes, 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 and there's a guy to make it. So always chase your dreams, but you know, make sure you have something to fall back on. And a lot of times someone will come up and they'll have their son with me and they'll be like, my boy wants to be a wrestler, do you have any advice for him? I said, yeah, get golf clubs. That's where the money's at, and a lot easier on the body. Oh! Hey, brother.
What do you think about Bad News Brown making fun of your name? Because he said Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, and everybody else who he said snot noses and all that. Did you finally get your revenge on him for making fun of you?
No, you know, actually, probably, you know, in wrestling, you can't take nothing to heart. You know, that's why I think everybody should be a bad guy wrestler for one day. Because you get used to the people saying the worst things in the world to you. You know, they say the horriblest things. But, you know, bad news, actually like Jesse Ventura. Jesse, my sisters used to say, that Jesse Ventura, he's sending these horrible things about you. I'm like, well, that means he's doing a good job if he's a bad guy. And of course, when I first started, my eyes crossed, you know, and I used to go to the ring and people would chant, cockeye Duggan, cockeye Duggan, cockeye. And I wouldn't get mad about the cockeye deal, but it's Duggan, it's not Duggan, buddy. So you got to have a kind of a thick skin. Thanks.
How's it going, man? Just want to say it's an honour to be in your presence. I remember when I was this high, I used to wear proudly a Hacksaw Jim Duggan badge. You standing with the 2x4 and the American flag, so this is an honour. I just wanted to ask though, do you have any crazy wild behind the scenes stories with the bushwhackers? Growing up in New Zealand, it was so cool knowing the bushwhackers from New Zealand.
Yeah, well actually Butch, Luke and I are still good friends. You know, Butch of course moved back here to New Zealand, but even as a young man, I got to know the bushwhackers when I was Wild Man Duggan, even before Hacksaw. But I think what I remember most about the whackers is we did Wembley Stadium over there in London, England. They had like, I don't know, 90,000 people at the stadium. It was me and the bushwhackers against the Nasty Boys and the Mountie. And of course, one whacker would go to the corner, he'd go, yay! And the other whacker would go over the other corner and go, yo! And I'd go, ho! So we did 20 minutes without touching. Yay, yo, ho! Yay, yo, ho! We had the whole place rocking. Everybody else is out there chopping meat, flying around. Me, Butch, and Luke, yay, yo, ho! We had the place cooking. So there's, you know, like a lot of people are critical of Hulk Hogan. He's not a very good wrestler. I said, are you kidding? He goes like this, and the whole place goes crazy. It's not UFC, it's professional wrestling.
Thank you, man.
Sure, thank you, brother.
Hello. Thank you for this opportunity. Great to have you here in Christchurch.
Thank you.
Just wondering, physically and business-wise, how was the crossover from the NFL to pro wrestling and WWF?
Yeah, it was very hard for me. I mean, you know, in American football, you have a helmet and shoulder pads. You got 10 other guys around you. You're 50 yards from the fans. And all of a sudden in wrestling, you're in a pair of short shorts and patent leather boots, and the fans are right there. I mean, it's nerve-wracking. I just be terrified. So it was quite a transition to become a wrestler, but it's been a good business for me. So many folks hear all the negative stuff about my good friend Jake the Snake Roberts or Scott Hall. We have a high divorce rate, high drug and alcoholism rate, a high death rate in our business. And a lot of people try to compare us to sports teams, especially back in the 80s and 90s. No, we were more like a rock and roll band than you were a sports team. Every night you're in a different city and you're in a different country, you know. So, but a lot of guys had. Me personally, though, it's been a great business for me. I've been with my wife for over 30 years. Never had to go to rehab for booze or drugs. No felony arrest. A couple misdemeanors, but that was the 80s, you know. Oh! But overall, it's been a great business. And a lot of folks don't see that. They only hear the negative stuff. Guys like Tito Santana is successful, Nasty Boy Jerry Sags, my good friend, God bless him, Roddy Piper. The people are successful in our business, but nobody ever hears those stories. Thanks.
G'day, Jim. So with wrestling and NFL, you obviously took a lot of bumps. So what was the worst bump you've ever suffered while inside the ring, and who was it against?
Yeah, actually the most debilitating injury I had, it doesn't really sound romantic, but it was a ruptured Achilles tendon. I mean, it was almost a 6 months injury. You know, when people look at you, you don't look hurt, but you can't walk at all. I mean, it's a horrible injury. But the one that almost killed me, me and One Man Gang were working way back in the old days in Houston, Texas. And he went to run my head into the ring post. And back then they had a bolt that hooked the ropes to the ring post, and the bolt was sticking out, and neither one of us saw it, and it almost killed me. Ran my head into the bolt. I was in the hospital for about a week, but you know, he didn't mean to do it, and I you know, certainly didn't want to do it. Because that's the old joke in wrestling. People say, Hacksaw, I saw you throw a punch. You missed a guy by that much. I said, yeah, but you see, when I hit him by that much, it goes both ways, you know. So you try to take care of the guy you're out there with, but you know, you're in front of lots of people, so everything's pretty live. You just try not to hit the X-ring.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, brother.
So, how did you find the travel schedule once you got to the WWE after the territory?
Well, you know, that's the training schedule at WWE. A lot of folks, you know, think they teach you how to fall, and they don't. It's you're an independent contractor, you know, so you have to learn yourself. And that's why it took me so long to learn the business. So nowadays it's a little different. They have the Performance Center in Orlando where they go around and they pick people and bring them into Orlando. But back in the old days, you kind of came up with your own deal. You learned you didn't have time to wrestle. I wrestled Andre 54 nights straight without a day off, because back then you didn't have contracts. If you wrestled, you got paid. If you didn't wrestle, you didn't get paid. So if you got hurt, you were out of luck. So if Andre, I was main event with Andre. If he wanted to wrestle, I wrestled him every night because we were main event and made the most money. So you didn't really have time to go to the gym. You had to make time to do it.
Hi Jim, welcome to Christchurch.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering if you had any comment on your time in WCW. You had some different gimmicks there, like Team Canada, and after spending so long as a fan favourite, it was a bit of a change for you.
Yeah, very knowledgeable wrestling fan. Yeah, well, you know, what happened was WCW, Ted Turner and Vince McMahon didn't get along very well. So Ted Turner wanted to be the best wrestling company in the world, and he offered no-cut contracts to everybody. And like I said before, you work, you got paid. You didn't work, you didn't get paid. You didn't have a contract. So everybody left and went down to WCW. Hogan, Macho, myself, the Nasties, Beefcake. So I went down to WCW, and I think my second week down there, I beat Stunning Steve Austin so bad he had to shave his head and change his name. Oh! I was going to kick back on this Stone Cold thing, I tell you. But anyway, so we went down there. Professionally, it was great because you knew what you were going to get paid. You had some security. And of course, I had a nice run down there. And then finally, Vince Russo came in. And he wanted to push me out and make room for some young guy. So he wanted me to quit. He tried to push me out of my contract. So he brought me up to Atlanta. We had this big meeting at the CNN Center in downtown Atlanta. And he's like, Duggan, we're going to turn you against America. Oh, where are we going to go? Iraq, Iran, you know, what are we going to do? He goes, you're going to be part of Team Canada. Like, well, we got a lot of heat with the Canadians. I mean, what the devil, you know? But it was great because I was able to cut my hair and shave my beard that I had pretty much my whole adult life. And I did it on the road, and I went into the dressing room, and guys I've known for 20 years didn't have a clue who I was. You know, what does this guy doing in there? And then I flew home, my wife met me at the airport, and she goes, oh, this is great. You look totally different. That's what I thought, brother.
Thanks, Jim.
Sure, of course.
Back, actually talking about the old days, the WWF days, when you were traveling from show to show, night to night, there wasn't the sort of travel arrangements that are available now, and you guys would often pair up and have like road buddies and that sort of stuff. Who was your road buddy back in the day?
The guys I enjoyed traveling with was Jake the Snake Roberts, of course, and the Nasty Boys. But you know, if you travel with Jake the Snake, that means you have to travel with Damien, the 10-foot, 120-pound snake he brought around everywhere. And I used to joke, I'd walk into an arena, I said, can somebody find me a 2x4 and get him a 10-foot python? You know, he had to drag that snake around wherever he went. So, you know, back in the old days, you know, Jake and I, we'd be late a little bit, you know, and we had a theory, if we're going to be late for a show, be so late that they're happy to see you, you know. Thank God you made it, instead of, where the hell you been? You know, thank God you guys made this show. But anyway, we're driving to the show like in Alabama, Southern America. And I had a big rented Lincoln Town car, and we're late, so I'm flying down the highway, and the snake was in the back seat in the bag. The snake lived in the bag, and he would always try to get out of the bag. Always, all of a sudden, boom, the snake gets out of the bag, right? And I'm driving down the road, I look in the mirror, there's a big, huge, giant python snake head over my shoulder, you know? Felt like Harry Potter. So anyway, man, I slam on the brakes, we go sliding into a little restaurant, you know, and people are like, well, you know, pythons aren't poisonous. I said, no, but it's got a mouth like this, it'll definitely bite your butt, you know? So we go sliding into this restaurant, and the folks are out front in their rocking chairs, and the kids are playing, and Jake and I, we jump out of the car, we pull open the back door, we grab the snake, we're fighting with the snake, stuff it back in the bag, and drive off. So you know, to this day, these people are going, you ain't gonna believe it. These two guys had a giant snake in the back of their car. Yeah. But Jake is a good friend of mine, man. Good to see him doing better. There's a guy that had a horrible drug problem, but with the help of DDP, saved his life, and we came out the other end.
So another story that keeps coming, well, another tales from the old days of the pranks. And I heard the Nasty Boys were particularly good at pranking people. You ever suffered a prank at the hands of those guys?
No, I got along good with them, so, you know, that's it. But, you know, back in the day, they had a lot of, you know, they called them ribs. Prank would be called a rib in our business. And, of course, there were so many guys. Kurt Henry would do it. Mr. Fuji would do it. The Nasty Boys would do it. The Rockers. So you didn't know who was doing what. But Bret Hart, one of my good friends, he tells a story at Owen Hart's funeral. God bless Owen. But Owen pulled a good rib on me. You know, I was in the hotel down, and I called the front desk. I said, hey, is there a gymnasium close by? I'd like to get a workout. The guy goes, you one of those wrestlers? I said, yes, sir. He says, you got a phone book in your room? I said, yes, sir. He goes, why don't you look it up? And I'm like, hey, you know, I spent some money at this place. I'd like, you know, a little common courtesy. He goes, I don't care what, you know, no, you wrestlers, I'm telling you, you got trouble, come on down here. I'm the young guy. I'm like, I'll be right there, buddy. So I'm getting dressed, the phone rings again. It's the guy from the front desk goes, sir, I'm very sorry. He says, that was one of those wrestlers. I said, you find out who it was. So the guy looks at Owen, goes, what's your name? Owen goes, Jim Powers. So that night I grabbed Powers. I don't like the rib, I don't like the B rib. He's like, what? But I tell you, you know, speaking of Andre a little bit earlier, you know, Andre was so big, you know, 7'2", over 500 pounds. You know, he was not, probably the best way to put it, not the most hygienic guy in the world. You know, he had trouble fitting in the showers. You know, he'd sit on a toilet, the toilet would break. A tough life for the man. But he had a unique aroma, to put it politely. So you'd be talking, playing cards, you'd be like, Andre, hello, boss, hello, you know. And so I wrestled, I knocked Andre out. I wrestled him 54 nights straight. We had this standard spot we do every night. He'd be, Duggan, step closer. And I'd take a couple baby steps, you know. He'd like, closer, oh God, you know. And he'd grab me by the hair and he'd pull me in. He used to wear that singlet with the one strap, you know. And he'd take the singlet off, he'd wrap it around my throat, and he'd choke me with it. And we'd do that spot every night. I knew it was coming. So it was one night we're out in like LA or Sacramento, California somewhere. And he's a little inebriated. He's like, Duggan, step closer. And I take a couple babies. So of course, you know, he never washed his gear, you know. And so he says, closer, Duggan. He grabs me by the hair and he pulls me in, he takes the strap off, he goes to wrap it around my throat. But it misses. Instead of going around my throat, it goes like this. Right? So now he starts choking me, and he's squeezing all the giant juice out of his gear. And I'm 300 pounds. I'm fighting like hard as I've ever fought. And Andre's going,
So you've traveled around the world, you've wrestled in 30 odd different countries. What are the different fans like around the world?
Fans are generally great. You know, it's amazing. That's why we're sitting here signing autographs. We're a big wrestling family. You know, I like this. You know, people say you get nervous talking to the folks. I said it's like talking to a room full of old friends. You know, it's wrestling kind of transcends countries. It's great. You know, and like in Japan, they're very quiet, clap politely. You know, so I go storming. It was kind of an adjustment for me because I go to the ring and go, oh!
Hey.
Nothing.
On the main stage, IPW Live Wrestling is about to start. If you want to get a photo with our Supergirl guests or the Loopers, head to the photo booth. And also our autograph area at the rear of the venue is in action. Our guests are signing for the next 30 minutes. Ultra Pass and Shaky Pass holders, VIP holders, your VIP photo is at 4:30. Make sure you're there for that. Still got an hour to go, guys. Lots happening.
Hey, buddy, I got feelings too.
Thanks, Bill.
Yeah.
And how was Andre received over in Japan? Because I mean, yeah. I mean,
Oh, great! Yeah,
talk about the statue.
the Tokyo Dome. I mean, it's amazing of the appeal of, like I said, the appeal of wrestling around the world. It's a good show. I find folks that are critical of the product have never actually been. You know, it's a fun night out. You cheer the good guy, you boo the bad guy, or you go sit in a movie for 3 hours. You know, it's a fun night out.
You know, I'm angling for you to tell the story about Andre in the elevator in Japan.
Oh, well, I think speaking of the Japan show, you know, in Japan, you know, personal space doesn't really exist, you know, so, you know, they just crowd you into the subway, they crowd you into the elevator, and we're staying at the Kyo Plaza, big fancy damn hotel in downtown Tokyo, probably 80 stories tall. And we're all checking in, and we get to the elevator. Andre gets on the elevator, myself, Jake the Snake DiBiase, we all get on the elevator. Just before the elevator's door, about 15 Japanese guys all come piling in the elevator. Now we're all packed in the elevator, and off we go up to like floor number 70. As soon as we start off, Andre starts, Andre starts laughing louder and louder, and you're like, you know, finally Jake looks over at Andre, and he goes, Andre, he goes, why are you laughing? Because I'm farting. About that time, you see the green gas coming up, you know. I'm up at my toes trying to stay north of it, you know, where the poor Japanese guys are really suffering, you know. Now we're at floor 65, floor 66, floor 67. Andre's still laughing. We're like, Andre, why are you still laughing? Andre goes, I'm still farting.
And I can think of no better way to end the panel from that. Christchurch, please show some love. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh!
Thank you, folks. Thanks very much.
All right, let's keep it on wrestling. If you want to watch the IPW wrestling, get the best seats. Come this way, ladies and gentlemen. Show's about to kick off in a couple of minutes.